Good morning, beautiful Savior. I see my attire is a little bit different than normal for our devotions. That's because I'm getting ready to take some donations down to Good in the Hood. And that's kind of the focus of our devotion today, that and the book of Numbers. And oftentimes when we think of the book of Numbers, we kind of take its name literally. It's really hard not to see it as just a book filled with a bunch of different numbers. Verse after verse seems to be filled with them. Especially if we stop reading after the first chapter. Now, if you move past that, you would see that there's more than just numbers. It's actually a book about God continuing to provide and preserve his people despite the brokenness that tries to get in the way. Yes, there are numbers, but they tell the story of God's preservation and provision in all times and in all places. So for our devotion today, I'd like to give you some more numbers. They tell the same story of God's preservation and provision, and these numbers are 500, 20, 11, and 6. 500 is the amount of lunches packed and served by our neighbors, friends, and members of Beautiful Savior to those who were serving downtown and keeping the peace and protecting people and cleaning up. 20 minutes is all it took you to pack those lunches. Crazy, by the way. 11 people went down to serve at Trinity First for their food distribution to the affected neighborhoods. 6 is the number of the affected vehicles, or the full-size vehicles, that we used to bring that down. 3 full-size SUVs, 1 mid-size SUV, 1 van, and 1 10-foot moving van brings us to 6. All full of donated food that we brought to Trinity First for their food distribution. Each and every one of those numbers accomplishes the same goal as the ones found in the book of Numbers. They tell the story of God's preservation and provision for his people despite the brokenness they have experienced. In the days ahead, I hope to share more numbers with you. In the meantime, thank you for continuing to tell God's story through these numbers. While it may just look like a bunch of numbers, I hope that you can see that it's much more than that, just like the book itself. So please join me in praying for those on the receiving end of our numbers so that they can see it too. God's blessings to you as you live into and tell the story of God's continued provision and preservation in the midst of brokenness.